All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Math 105. My name is Mike Filipski, again, your instructor for the course, and we are going to get our class kicked off and the course content kicked off with section 1.1. Now, all of chapter 1 may be more of a review for most of us, if not all of us, but that's okay. Never hurts to go back through the basics and just refresh ourselves on some key basic things that we're going to be working with and using throughout this whole class. So in this video, we're going to talk about exponents, order of operations, and inequality. So to kick things off with exponents, if we want to multiply a particular number by that same thing, if we want to take a number and multiply it by itself a certain number of times, then we can take that product and we can write it as what's known as an exponential expression. Try saying that 5 times fast. The number that we're going to multiply is called the base, and the number of times that we're going to multiply this number, the base, by itself is called the exponent. So I have a sample here. Let's say I wanted to find what 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 was. Instead of writing it as 6 times 6 times 6 times 6, we can look at this and say, okay, we're taking the number 6 and we're multiplying it by itself 4 times because the 6 is showing up 1, 2, 3, 4 times there. So we can rewrite this, and the way that we would typically write this is 6 would be our base. The exponent would be 4, because that's the number of times that we're multiplying it. So we'd say this as 6 to the 4th power, or 6 to the power of 4. And the way that we would write this is our base, 6, and then in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to put the exponent of 4. So that's how we would write 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. A couple general and basic yet really key things to know about writing exponential expressions. A number raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1 so long as it's not 0. As long as your base is not 0, then any number raised to the power 0 is equal to 1. And if you take any number whatsoever and raise it to the power of 1, you're just going to get that number. We are going to see this fact come back up later on in this course. So now we're going to do some samples here. We're just going to figure out what each of these exponential expressions is equal to. So 2 to the 5th, or 2 raised to the power of 5. What are we actually doing here? This is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And if you do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, either by hand or if you plug it into your calculator, you're going to come up with 32. Next one, 1 raised to the 7th power, or 1 raised to the power of 7. This is 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. The number that we're multiplying, again, is that base, and the number of times that we're multiplying it, 7, is our exponent. So what is 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1? It's just going to be 1. One half raised to the 4th power, or 1/2 to the power of 4. This is 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. And we know from our previous math classes that when we multiply fractions, we multiply the tops and we multiply the bottoms. So 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is equal to 1. And 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is going to equal 16. So 1/2 raised to the 4th power is equal to 1 over 16. Now, some of you may be wondering, why do I have these dots here? This is the more common symbol that you'll see being used for multiplication. Yes, you can still see the x there. That could be meant as multiplication, but you'll see that as we move throughout this course, we're going to be finding some other use for this x. So that's why we switched to the dots here to represent multiplication, so as to not confuse those two x's. One being used for one thing, and then also could be used for something else. This last one here, I'm going to let you try that one on your own. And if you're meeting in class with me, then we will go through that particular sample problem in class. Now, something that you have to keep in mind when it comes to exponential expressions, and this is a common error that people tend to make. If you raise a number to a power, that is not the same thing as multiplying the exponent and the base. At least it's not always. There are a couple cases where that is true, but for the most part, that is not true. Just as a quick sample here, if you take 6 and raise it to the power of 3, that is not the same thing as 6 times 3. So a number raised to a power is not the same thing as the base times the exponent, or the base times the power that is on it. For the record, 6 to the 3rd power, I should say, is 6 times 6 times 6, which is 216. And 6 times 3 is equal to 18. Clearly, these two things are not the same. So that's just a little bit of a review of exponents, what those things mean, and how we can write those things. Now, we may see some kind of mathematical quantity given to us, and we may have to do a particular operation first within sort of a whole bunch of operations being used within the quantity that we are given. We may have to, say, add two numbers first before we do something, or we may have to multiply two numbers first before we do something else inside of it. So what do we do to make sure that we do that particular thing first? We use grouping symbols to sort of tell us what things we can, or what things we have to do first, I should say. And grouping symbols can show up in sort of three main types. You have your parentheses, you have brackets, and then you have braces, or squiggly brackets, or set brackets. Those are the most common phrases I'll use for these guys here. So parentheses, brackets, or square brackets, and then braces or squiggly brackets. And when we have those grouping symbols and the exponents and our sort of four basic operations, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, we get the order of operations. And the order of operations tell us what things we are supposed to do in what order when we're looking at a mathematical quantity that we're given. For short, You've probably heard of PEMDAS or PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or any other similar thing. And this tells us the order in which operations have to be performed. Number one, P, those parentheses. Anything inside of parentheses or just any grouping symbol, anything that's inside of those has to be done first. Now, once those are done, or inside of those things, we move down. E stands for exponents. Any powers you have on things, those things have to be dealt with next. Once you've dealt with all of the exponents, you have multiplication and division, and those things happen within the same step. Those two operations happen at the same time. Once any division or multiplication has been done, we move on to the last sort of, again, combination of steps, addition and subtraction. Again, those get done in the same step as well. So we're going to do some sample problems here, helping ourselves get used to the order of operations. So here I have 5 plus, and then in parentheses I have 6 minus, and inside another set of parentheses 5 times 3. So we have some parentheses that we have to work with. Always deal with the insidemost quantities that are inside of our grouping symbols, and then work your way out. So start inside, work your way out. So I have to take care of what's inside of these guys first. So what's inside of those guys is 5 times 3. And 5 times 3 is 15. So now I have 5 plus the quantity 6 minus 15. All right, I have this operation in parentheses here, so I need to deal with this guy next. 6 minus 15 is negative 9. Five plus negative 9 there. And now I see that I'm adding these two quantities. So 5 plus a negative 9 is equal to a negative 4. Again, you can just do that in your head, or you can plug that into your calculator. So this is the answer that we should come up with. We should be coming up with a negative 4 here for this first one. Second one, 2 to the third power minus 5 times 4 plus 10 divided by 5. Again, looking at our order of operations, do we see any parentheses happening there? No. So we move on to E, exponents. We have the exponent happening here, 2 raised to the third power. So this is going to be 8 minus 5 times 4 plus 10 divided by 5. All right, all the exponents are taken care of. Now we do our next step, multiplication slash division. And this happens again in the same step as we go from left to right. So here I see I have 8 minus 5 times 4. Now, what are we multiplying here? Because some folks may get tripped up and they think, okay, what two things am I multiplying? I'm multiplying the numbers that are directly to the left and directly to the right of my multiplication sign. So what I'm actually multiplying are these two guys here. So 5 times 4 is 20 plus, and then I have a 10 divided by 5. What am I going to divide here? The 10 and the 5. And 10 divided by 5 is 2. And now, last step, addition slash subtraction, all happening at the same time, moving from left to right. 8 minus 20 is going to give you a negative 12, plus 2 is going to give us a negative 10. And the third one here, I'm going to challenge you guys, sort of a challenge. I'm going to let you guys try this one on your own, and we will see what the answer is in class. Lastly, just a quick recap of the equality and inequality symbols that we are going to be seeing throughout this course. Obviously, we have the two horizontal lines, one on top of the other, the equal sign saying is equal to. The two horizontal lines, the equal sign with a slash through it, is saying it is not equal to. It could be greater than something, it could be less than something, but it's just not equal. Here, the arrowhead where the point is facing to the left, this is the less than sign. Again, it's less than because we typically read from left to right. Here, the arrowhead with the point going to the right, we say is the is greater than sign. Here we have the arrowhead with the arrow pointing to the left, and then we have the horizontal line underneath. This is the less than or equal to sign. So if it's less than a quantity or it's the same as, then that's what we're talking about here. And then here, lastly, arrowhead pointing to the right with a horizontal line underneath. This is the is greater than or equal to sign. So more than it or the same as it. So guys, this concludes our video on section 1.1. In the next video, we will continue on with a review of some basic yet important things in mathematics that we're going to need to know for this course. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to reach out to me, send me an email, give me a phone call, or stop into my office. Otherwise, until the next video, take it easy, guys.